They said family looks out for each other. But when my grandpa offered $1.2 million to whoever would care for him until the end, my dad didn't hesitate. He said, "I got you, old man." But he didn't mean it. Not really. He just saw a countdown to a payday. Welcome back to Betrayal HQ, the place where silence breaks and stories speak. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, because today, we're stepping into a house where love had a price tag, and the receipt came in the form of regret. This is the story of how my dad inherited $1.2 million on one condition: take care of Grandpa forever. No shortcuts, no excuses. Just love, or so we thought. But while my dad counted the days, Grandpa was counting the lies. Let me show you what really happened, and how silence became the loudest revenge of all. Before the contract, before the countdown, my world was simple, quiet, predictable in the way that makes you feel safe, not stuck. I lived in a small town where the mornings smelled like toast and old coffee pots. I taught high school history, the kind of job where you don't get rich, but the kids remember you 10 years later. My daughter Maddie would shout good luck to me from the top of the stairs as I left for work, still wearing her mismatched socks. My house creaked in all the right places. The roof needed fixing. The fridge door moaned when it opened, but it was home. Every Sunday I walked down Maple Avenue with a paper bag of groceries tucked under one arm, always the same: 2 oranges, a tin of corned beef, Grandpa's favorite rye bread, and a newspaper I knew he'd already read. He'd be on the porch, as always, rocking in that chair, like time owed him no debt. "You're late," he'd say with a smirk, even if I wasn't. That was the rhythm of our lives. No drama, no demands, just love expressed in small, steady ways. He told stories I'd already heard a dozen times. I laughed like it was new every time. I brought him meds, fixed his leaky faucet. He told me I made the best tea on the street, even though I never added sugar like he liked. And then one Tuesday evening, I got a call, said there was going to be a family meeting. And just like that, the world I knew folded in on itself. Not with a bang, but with a signature. Funny how you can know someone your whole life and still miss what they were really after. Let me tell you about my father, Mike. To most people, he was charming, the kind of man who could talk a locked door into swinging open. He wore suits to family dinners, always carried 2 phones, and never missed a chance to call himself self-made. But he hadn't visited Grandpa in months. Not since the old man stopped driving and started slowing down. Still, when Grandpa's will was mentioned, Dad showed up early, with fresh flowers and clean hands. Then there's my mother, Sandra. She passed when I was 13. I think that's when Dad stopped being someone warm and became someone sharp. Grandpa stepped in after that, filled the silence with stories and grilled cheese sandwiches. If anyone raised me, it was Harold, not Mike. I have a daughter, Maddie. She's 11, all questions and comic books, always tying her shoelaces too tight. She adored Grandpa, thought his cane made him look like a wizard. One time she told Dad, "You should smile more. Grandpa's older than you and he's still kinder." He laughed, but the corners of his mouth never moved. There's also Aunt Denise, Dad's sister. She's a firecracker, works as a nurse, calls everyone hon even when she's mad. She was suspicious from the beginning, said Mike only shows up when there's something to gain. But no one listened. The one who took Grandpa to his appointments, brought him new socks when the old ones wore thin, the one who never asked for anything but time. I thought that would count for something. But in families like mine, silence gets mistaken for weakness. And kindness, that's just a currency no one's willing to spend. I wasn't chasing a legacy. I wasn't looking to be the favorite son. All I ever wanted was to matter to the people who shaped me. For me, it wasn't the inheritance. It was Grandpa's trust. It was the way his hand would rest on my shoulder when I brought him his tea. The way he'd say, "You're the best part of my week," and mean it. After Mom passed, I didn't ask for much. Just peace. A roof over my kids' head. And the quiet dignity of knowing that, even if I wasn't the loudest one in the room, I showed up. Every time. For everyone. But beneath it all, what I really held on to was this: the belief that love, given freely, would always be remembered. That doing the right thing quietly, without applause, still mattered. I thought if I kept showing up, if I kept doing the little things, the people I loved would never forget who I was. That my daughter would see me and learn what loyalty looks like. That Grandpa would know I didn't just visit out of duty, but because it felt like coming home. That was the hill I stood on, and when the will was announced, that's what I nearly lost. It didn't happen all at once. Betrayal rarely does. It starts with silence, then seeps in through the spaces no one guards. The first thing I noticed was how fast the visit stopped. At first I'd get updates. "Grandpa's doing fine," or "We just had dinner together." But then the texts came slower, shorter, A week passed. Then no photos, no calls, just a thumbs up emoji, like that was enough. I drove over one night, unannounced. The porch light was off. Grandpa used to sit there every evening, blanket on his lap, radio humming. But now, just darkness. Mike answered the door, eyes bloodshot. Ty loosened, said he's sleeping, and blocked the view behind him with his shoulder. Something about his voice too smooth, too fast, like he'd rehearsed it. The next day, I called Grandpa's old landline, disconnect. Then came the little things. A missed appointment on his calendar, the groceries I left untouched in the fridge, one of Grandpa's favorite sweaters, still folded, tags still on, and when I asked Mike if he needed help, he smiled too wide and said, "Nah, we've got a rhythm. Don't overthink it." I didn't say anything, but I felt it. That strange, heavy quiet, like a room that used to hold warmth now, holding its breath. No one said the word, no one had to, but in my gut, I knew something was slipping. Before the locked doors, before the unanswered calls, there were days I can still feel if I sit still long enough. I remember being 12, knees scraped, voice shaking after I struck out in Little League. Mom was already sick. I sat on Grandpa's porch with my gloves still on, pretending I didn't care. He brought me orange soda and said, "You play like you live, kid. All heart. Sometimes heart doesn't win, but it never loses." Then he ruffled my hair like it still mattered. Years later, I was broke, a new father, fresh out of a bad marriage. I didn't ask him for help. Didn't have to. He showed up one day with 2 bags of groceries, a set of tools and a smile. No speech, no judgment. Just this: "You build a life. I'll help hammer the quiet." He used to fall asleep in that old chair of his while I read books out loud. Said my voice helped the words land softer. He remembered every name in my stories, even the ones I made up. Told me once, "You'll never know how much I needed you too." I never forgot. So when the updates stopped, when the calls went cold, I didn't just miss him, I missed us. And maybe that's the cruelest part of betrayal. Not just losing someone, but remembering how easily they once let you in. It didn't come with yelling, no slammed doors, no dramatic scene, just a smile, and a moment that let me know I was no longer needed. It was Grandpa's birthday, 83. He always said he didn't like big parties, but we still threw one every year. Just us, just family. I showed up early, like I always did. Brought his favorite pie from Thompson's Bakery. Cherry, no crust on top, because he said it felt less old manish. But when I knocked, no one answered. I heard music playing inside, voices laughing. I tried the door, locked. Through the glass I saw balloons. Even Aunt Denise. Mike opened the door just a crack. Smile pasted on like wallpaper. He said, "Didn't know you were coming. We've got it covered." Then added, "No need to crowd him. You know how he tires easy." Behind him, Grandpa sat in his chair, surrounded by people, but his eyes kept darting toward the door, toward me. I held up the pie, stupidly, like some kind of peace offering. Mike didn't even look at it. He said, "Take it home. We've got plenty of food." Then he shut the door. Just like that, I stood on the porch, holding that pie like a fool. And for the first time I realized, I wasn't part of the story anymore. I was the footnote. No shouting, no scene, just a door that didn't open, and a party I wasn't welcome at. I sat in my truck, keys still in the ignition, wondering how the hell we got here. The pie was still in my lap untouched. The house, the one I used to walk into without knocking, was now sealed behind laughter. I wasn't allowed to join. Didn't call Mike or bang on the door. I just sat there, listening to the muffled music through the walls, like it was playing in a dream I'd been kicked out of. I thought about all the years I showed up, the afternoons I spent fixing the railing on Grandpa's porch, the nights I stayed after dinner to change light bulbs, refill prescriptions, drive him to appointments, all while raising a daughter, working 2 jobs, and trying to hold myself together. And how tonight, I wasn't even allowed on the porch. There's a moment when you realize you're not losing someone, you've already lost them, and now you're just waiting for the silence to confirm it. Music off, let the night take the sound, because my chest couldn't hold it anymore. You want to know the part that stings? It's not just being left out, it's knowing how much I held, that they never acknowledged. But Grandpa came to me in a panic. Bank accounts frozen, credit cards maxed out. Said Mike needed help, but was too proud to ask. I pulled money from Maddie's college fund, and paid down the debt behind the scenes. Told the bank it was a family restructuring. Mike never said thank you, but he drove a new car 2 weeks later. When Aunt Denise found out he was seeing someone on the side during his 3rd marriage, I told her to keep quiet, said it wasn't our place, tried to protect his kids from seeing what kind of man he really was. I swallowed that secret like it was my own, because I thought protecting the family meant carrying the shame too. Even when he took Grandpa's tools, The ones Grandpa had promised to pass down to me, and sold them for storage space. I didn't say a word, just nodded when he said, "You're not the kind of guy who needs stuff anyway." Like sentiment was weakness. All these years I patched the holes he left behind. And when I finally needed someone to knock for me, he locked the door. I didn't go looking for the truth. I was just trying to bring him his favorite socks. It was raining, the kind of rain that taps the windshield like a warning. I knocked. No answer again. Mike had texted earlier, said Grandpa was resting, said he wasn't up for visitors. But I'd heard that line too many times. I let myself in with the spare key, walked down the hallway and into Grandpa's room, only to find it empty. The bed was cold, his shoes still tucked by the nightstand, but the man, gone. That's when I opened the drawer, looking for socks. Instead, I found the journal. Every page, a day of silence he didn't deserve. October 3rd, no breakfast, again. October 9th, missed meds. No apology. October 22nd, he told me I'm heavy. I laughed but it hurt. Then I found the envelope, brittle at the edges, sealed and my name written in shaky ink. Inside was a letter, not long, not dramatic, just this. If you're reading this, then I didn't get the chance to say thank you. I never filed the new will. I needed to know who loved me, without a dollar sign. Mike made his choice, and so did. My hands shook, not from sadness, but from the weight of everything I let slide. I had carried this family, quietly, patiently, and they thought I'd do it forever, smiling, grateful, quiet. But I wasn't quiet anymore. I was done watching them bury my name with a grin. I didn't yell, didn't storm into the house, or throw the journal on the table. No big speech, just a quiet breath, and the start of something they'd never see coming. Wrapped it in brown paper like something sacred, because it was. The next morning I called Mr. Halperin, Grandpa's old lawyer, the same man who handled Mom's estate. His voice cracked when I told him what I'd found. He said, "Bring it in," quietly. We sat in a dim office that smelled like old books and peppermint. He read the journal slowly, glasses sliding down his nose, hands trembling just slightly. Then he looked at me and said, "If this goes public, your father won't survive it. But if it doesn't, you." I didn't reply, just handed him the sealed letter. Told him to do what Grandpa asked, and to do it legally. No confrontation, no scenes. I let them keep their parties, their dinners, their fake smiles, because I knew something they didn't. The one who wouldn't fight back. But I wasn't staying silent. I was just letting the truth arrive in a sharper envelope. They didn't even notice. That was the part that stuck with me. The silence didn't bother them, because they thought I'd already left the room. While Mike planned his next vacation, I was meeting with the estate attorney. While they laughed over dinner, I was pulling property records. It turns out, the house Grandpa lived in, the one Mike bragged about putting him in, was still in Grandpa's name, which meant it was about to be mine. I called the utilities, had the mail rerouted, canceled the nurse Mike had quietly hired on the side, the one he wasn't supposed to need. I transferred the deed, quietly, legally, completely. At the bank I submitted the letter Grandpa wrote me, the sealed one with his signature and witness. They reviewed the documents, made some calls, and by Friday every account that mattered was frozen, except one. I let him buy dinner that weekend, take a few more Uber rides, make a few big promises. I wanted him to feel just comfortable enough. Every move I made in silence, because the kind of revenge that lasts never needs to raise its voice. I was changing locks. Maybe I should have walked away. Maybe I should have let them have it all. The house, the money, the silence. There were nights I lay awake with the journal beside me, unread, like it might whisper more if I gave it time. Maddie asked me once, "Why don't we visit Grandpa anymore?" And I didn't have the words, only the ache. Sometimes I wondered if I was becoming the very thing I was fighting against: cold, calculating, quiet in all the wrong way. I caught myself flinching at kindness, expecting some hidden motive. I kept my phone on silent, stopped answering calls from numbers I knew, not because I was angry, but because I didn't know who I was becoming. And in trying to get it back, I almost lost something else, my peace. But then, I found the last photo we took. Me, Grandpa, Maddie, before the will, before the silence. We were laughing. He had that look, like he already knew what was coming, but was glad to be in the middle of us anyway. That's when I realized, I didn't do all this to win. I did it to remember, not because they're careless, but because they think no one's watching. There was Mike standing outside a new condo downtown, shaking hands with some developer, talking about legacy investments. He said, "Family's what you make it. Sometimes you just have to take charge and protect the ones who raised you." He smiled for the camera. That's in the background, on the screen behind him. A ticker flashed. $1.2 million. Family trust reinvested into real estate holdings. His voice, clear as day,
It's not about money, it's about loyalty. He spent it before it cleared, publicly, proudly, as if the ink had dried, on a contract that never even existed. And in that moment, he gave me everything I needed, because arrogance always outruns truth. And Mike ran right into the light, along with the journal, the letter, and Grandpa's final wish. By Monday the accounts were frozen, the real will filed. And Mike, he got his silence, but not the kind he planned for. Tucked between junk mail and a pizza coupon, Mike pulled up to his driveway like he always did. Fast, distracted, Bluetooth in his ear, already yelling at someone who wasn't listening. He reached the front porch, and paused, folded in half and taped to the door he used to slam shut in my face. Notice of eviction, property transferred, estate executor, Paul J. Halperin, looked over his shoulder like someone might explain it for him. Inside the mailbox, another letter, from the bank. Accounts frozen, pending probate resolution. Do not attempt withdrawal.
He called me 3 times. Left 2 voicemails. No apology, just confusion. You can't do this, Paul. He said it like I had broken some unspoken rule. Like I had the audacity to follow through. But I didn't yell, didn't answer, didn't need to, because justice doesn't need to announce itself. It just arrives. Right on time. Later that week, I changed the locks, packed up Grandpa's few remaining things, and carried his favorite chair, the one Mike never let him use, into the front room of my own home. It creaked the same way it always had, like it had been waiting for him, voice shaking, asking if it was true. I told her yes, and that I had the documents. She didn't argue. She just said, I always knew you were the one that cared. Then she hung up, but no one offered to help him pack. When I finally saw him again, face to face, it was outside the lawyer's office. He looked smaller, not in body, but in presence. Like the room no longer bent around him, just stared at me like a man still waiting for the world to return to how it was. And for a moment, I almost pitied him. But then I remembered all the Sundays Grandpa waited by the window, and all the times Mike said he was too busy. He lost the story he told himself about who he was, and what he deserved. And in that silence between us, I saw it land, no apology, no tearful confession, just understanding that he'd gambled a man's final years for a payout, and came up empty. I walked in quiet, hoping to be remembered, and walked out quieter, knowing I finally remembered myself. And for a long time, I thought I was the forgettable one, the background, the footnote, but I'm not, and I never was. The reason the stories never stopped getting told, even when they stopped being heard. I tell her the truth, that he was stubborn, and kind, and full of stories, and that in the end, he left me more than anyone ever saw. I still have that key, not because I need it, but because it reminds me what it costs to learn the difference between keeping someone close and keeping their memory alive. No clipped tones, just air that knows how to rest. They don't call anymore, no texts, no birthday cards, and I don't need them to. Because in the end, I didn't take back a house. I took back a room he built for someone who showed up, stayed late, and never asked for a thing. And if they ever ask how I got the house, the accounts, the name on the deed, I'll tell them the truth. I earned it the same way they lost it quietly. Was I wrong to protect what was mine? Not the money, not the house, but the memory of a man who raised me with his hands, not his wallet. And if keeping that alive meant taking back everything they tried to erase me from, then maybe I wasn't just defending a legacy. Maybe I was defending the only kind of love that didn't come with a receipt. I didn't need anyone to clap or call, or say I did the right thing, because I was there when he needed me. I saw what they didn't. I remembered what they forgot. And in the end, I didn't take anything that wasn't already mine. I just stopped letting them act like it was. 5 months later, the house feels different. Not bigger, just quieter. The kind of quiet that doesn't ache anymore. Mike hasn't called. Not once. And I don't check anymore. Would you have stayed silent while they locked the door you once opened for them? Would you have fought back quietly, or just let them write you out? What would you do if the very hands you helped steady turned and pretended they never knew your name? Comment if you've ever been pushed out of a story you helped build. Subscribe if you've ever had to protect what was yours, with nothing but truth and a shaking hand. And share this, not for me but for anyone who's been erased in their own family, and still found a way to come home.